EPT Barcelona's seeding chart shouldn't have been a story, but on August 25, 2025, two Americans, Jesse Yaginuma and James Carroll, took nearby seats in the €5,300 main event, and the poker room started humming. Those names had just detonated the World Series of Poker's summer, triggering an unprecedented ruling, a flagship bracelet event with no champion. Barcelona wasn't a scandal, it was a memory test. What actually happened in Las Vegas? What's verified versus alleged? And why does any of this matter for the culture of the game? On June 25, 2025, the WSOP's 1,500 Millionaire Maker reached its final table in Las Vegas. The field, 11,996 entries. The headline at first looked familiar. James Carroll, a two-time World Poker Tour champion with a decade of resume, opened heads up with a massive lead. Across the table was Jesse Yaginuma, a veteran grinder best known for a string of online WSOP bracelets. One in 2022, one in 2023, one in 2024. Then the match flipped. Yaginuma rallied from a reported 9-1 chip deficit and was announced the winner, good for $1,255,180 as originally posted. But this final table had a second layer. Yaginuma also held a ClubWPT Gold Rush ticket, a third-party promotion promising a separate $1 million bonus if he won a qualifying WSOP bracelet event. That million wasn't WSOP prize money. It was marketing money from a different company. Still, it was real, and it meant one player at the final table had a life-changing incentive no one else had. As the heads-up swung toward Yaginuma, social media lit up with allegations that Carroll was soft-playing or even dumping chips to ensure the bonus was triggered. Let's draw a bright line. On June 26th, the WSOP publicly announced an investigation into potential collusion in event number 53. Top payouts were paused, and the bracelet was withheld pending review. The WSOP's 2025 tournament rules define poker as an individual game and explicitly list chip dumping, soft play, and other forms of collusion as disqualifying conduct. Alleged that Carroll intentionally transferred value to Yaginuma during heads-up play. Also relevant and on the record. In post-event interviews that week, Yaginuma denied any heads-up deal. Allegations aren't a verdict. That's what the investigation was for. 5 days later, on July 1st, the WSOP announced its decision. No winner would be recognized for the Millionaire Maker. No bracelet would be awarded. The remaining prize money for first and second would be split evenly between the final two players. In the official archive, one of the series' most beloved events would list no champion for 2025. That ruling carried two distinct messages. First, on equity. The money would be paid, preventing a cascading set of disputes over who deserved what. Second, on symbolism. The bracelet, the game's most powerful trophy, would not be attached to a result the series viewed as tainted. It was a statement about what a bracelet means. Not just chips at the end, but a clean path to get there. Meanwhile, the third-party money made its own choice. ClubWPT Gold confirmed it would still pay Yaginuma the $1 million bonus, independent of the WSOP's decision. Two entities, two missions, two outcomes. The WSOP guarded the sanctity of its title. The promotion kept its promise to its customers. What about bans? Here's the careful phrasing the story deserves. Multiple outlets reported that both players were barred from WSOP events and Caesars properties. The WSOP's July 1st public statement, however, did not mention bans. Without an on-the-record institutional statement detailing scope and duration, bans remain a reported, but not officially codified, piece of the public narrative. That distinction matters. Step back from the headlines, and the integrity knot comes into focus. Tournament poker rests on trust layered over rules. Players share cards, share pots, and live inside thousands of tiny self-policed edges. That's why the rulebook's language is so stark. Chip dumping and collusion destroy the field's fair shot. At the same time, modern poker lives on broadcasts and live reports. The audience sees hands, clips, and bet sizes in real time. Perception can harden before investigators finish their work. The WSOP's remedy chose principle over optics, no champion in the record books, while still honoring the financial equity among the last two players. Then there are incentives. Third-party bonuses attach new gravity to existing results, creating a kind of hidden ICM. If one specific outcome unlocks $1 million from an outside sponsor, everyone's antennae go up. Players, floors, media, fans. Promotions aren't inherently bad. They can expand the tent. But when they hang on a winner's name, not a leaderboard or a sweepstakes draw, they change how crucial endgame moments feel. The lesson isn't ban bonuses. It's stress test the rules against the incentives those bonuses create. Human stories matter too. James Carroll isn't a cipher. He's a high-achieving pro with WPT titles in 2014 and 2019 and years of deep runs. Jesse Yaginuma isn't a fluke. He ground his way to multiple WSOP online bracelets before this summer. That's why this case hits so hard. Respected names, bright lights, and a result that the biggest brand in poker refused to enshrine with a bracelet. The public saw some hands and drew conclusions. The institution made a decision and published the consequences. What we still don't have is a hand-by-hand, intent-focused report from the WSOP explaining how and why the ruling was reached. That's the transparency gap, and it's where debate will live until an official, detailed explanation exists. Now drop into Casino Barcelona on August 25th. Day 1B of the European Poker Tour's main event. It's one of the biggest rooms in Europe, a few hundred players deep across the day's flights. Jesse Yaginuma and James Carroll each register a few levels in and wind up at nearby tables, close enough that a floor camera or a passing railbird could frame both in a single pan. Live reports noted the coincidence and moved on. No table drama, no rulings, just poker. But a coincidence can be enough to reignite a conversation when the summer's biggest story still hangs in the air. Here's what Barcelona wasn't: a smoking gun. Here's what it was: a reminder of how randomness and optics collide. Major tours like the EPT assign seats at random, and floors balance and break tables according to published procedures. When the player pool is finite and the calendar is tight, improbable pairings happen. After a scandal, those pairings feel loaded. The fix isn't to bend randomness around headlines, it's to keep seat assignments transparent, procedures consistent, and communication crisp when coincidences become talking points. So why did the Barcelona snapshot matter? Because trust is cumulative. On July 1st, the WSOP decided that the Millionaire Maker's title would remain vacant. That ruling allowed the series to say, with a straight face, that a bracelet is more than chip counts and payouts. It's process and integrity. A few weeks later, the sightline of two familiar names in Spain asked a softer question. Did the summer change how we watch poker? It should. Not to make us paranoid, but to make us precise. Precision is the antidote to rumor. The WSOP investigated event number 53, withheld the bracelet, and split the top two payouts evenly. The WSOP rulebook defines and prohibits collusion and chip dumping as disqualifying. ClubWPT Gold paid a $1 million bonus to Yaginuma as a separate promotion. Reported, not officially detailed by the WSOP, bans or suspensions. On August 25th in Barcelona, Yaginuma and Carroll were seated near each other. No incidents were reported at the tables. What should the ecosystem take from all this? First, write the standards in bold, not footnotes. Every operator should ensure that rules about collusion, deals, and endgame conduct are visible and unambiguous, especially at streamed final tables. Second, when third-party money hooks to a tournament result, publish the policy interface in advance: what's allowed, what's not, and how conflicts will be handled if they arise. Third, when an investigation reaches a conclusion. This consequential, consider publishing a redacted factual summary. Protect privacy, yes, but meet the moment. The modern audience doesn't just want a verdict, it wants to understand the path to the verdict. There's a quieter message inside the WSOP's no winner decision. In a culture that sometimes treats deal-making as a practical necessity and optics as a secondary concern, the series chose symbolism on purpose. The money split acknowledged that, among the final two, equity could be squared. Withholding the bracelet protected the meaning of the trophy for everyone else. The thousands of players who bought into the idea that a bracelet is earned, not negotiated into existence. You can disagree with the remedy, but you can't miss what it tried to protect. And that circles us back to Barcelona. The seating uproar was never really about two chairs. It was about the lingering charge attached to two names after July 1st. In a game where one river card can tilt a career, optics can tilt a conversation. Floors and tours can't control who the internet decides to watch, but they can control how clearly they explain their processes, how consistently they enforce their rules, and how swiftly they address questions when the past walks into the room and takes a seat. Poker's greatest strength, and its biggest vulnerability, is that the players are the referees until they aren't. The line between honor system and floor call is thin. If the bracelet is the game's crown, then transparency is the velvet the crown sits on. One without the other never feels right. 2 seats apart in Barcelona, the game looked the same. But after Las Vegas, we see poker differently. The takeaway isn't panic, it's standards. Publish them, enforce them, and explain them. That's how you rebuild trust, hand by hand, seat by seat. Thanks for watching. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button for more engaging poker stories.